Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson, and I'm very good with scissors.
Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Come on, baby, don't you wanna go?
Hi there, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine with the greatest cameraman around, Sonny Hersh, and your host, Avi Meyers.
Avi Meyers, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hersh and myself. Dial us up on the web at ntnm.org, where you can have the links to YouTube, where over 70,000 shows have been watched. Thank you so much. We're very big on community policing here, and of course, there's a lot going on with the police department, and by the time this airs, we'll have a new police commander in the 24th District, and with all the cuts in community policing, it's sort of a sad situation. But go to caps24.org, and you can find out where the local neighborhood policing meeting is in the 24th District, which consists of Rogers Park, a little piece of Edgewater, as well as West Rogers Park. And I want to thank the Illinois State Crime Commission very much for, they made the mistake of giving me their Community Outreach Award at their recent banquet, and I want to thank Tom Dart for nominating me, and I want to thank them for all the courtesy and hospitality, and thank you very much, Wanda. I appreciate everything that was done. In the meantime, it is my pleasure to introduce you to a guest who has been on the show before, and she's to show you how long it's been since I haven't changed the beginning of the show. She's still on in the beginning of the show for about a second worth of frames. But anyway, she is the state representative of the 18th District, and for probably, I don't know exactly how many, but we're talking about somebody whose work I very much admire, who has been the point person for transit and all the rest of it, Julie Hamos.
Thank you. Avi, congratulations on your award.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate
Very nice.
that. Yeah, I didn't realize, and you probably know this much better than me, for all the things I've been involved in, it's like it was basically an excuse for them to get my list and ask everybody for money.
Not a bad deal.
So, I mean, it's been a very hectic session in Springfield.
Yes.
And of course, you have a new governor
Yes.
and a new budget, and so I mean, what are your feelings about what transpired?
Well, I think our budget's in very bad shape, and people out there should really be aware that I think there's a potential crisis brewing right now. You know, what happened here, Avi, is that a new governor came in, and the economy just sank. And they were at the same time, so some people out there are still confused about why we ended up with such a big budget deficit. They think it's because of corruption or mismanagement from the last governor, but that's not really what happened. What happened is that the economy, the revenues just did not come in. It's, you know, California is experiencing it. They're practically on the verge of bankruptcy. State governments, city governments, all over the place. So we're not unique. But really, we had a new governor. And the new governor inherited this gigantic deficit, and it needed some new revenues to fill it. And I can tell you what happened here that really breaks my heart is that on May 31st, the day that we left the legislative process, we came home, our last day, we showed a $6 billion deficit for pretty much the human services system.
Wow.
The grants that go to human services. And when I'm talking human services system, let me just give you an example. Early childhood programs that go into the schools, the pre-kindergarten programs, those are grants that go into education. They're going to be slashed 50%.
Wow.
The community care program, which is something I've worked on for my entire 11 years, that allows seniors to stay in their home as long as possible and not go into a nursing home, but get services delivered to them. Homemaker, Meals on Wheels, slashed 50%. We're talking about the need-based scholarship program for college students, $500 million. It's going to be slashed 50%. All the disability programs, some of which are misericordia right here, some of which are people staying at home and getting personal assistance to come and help them live at home. This is a big crisis. $6 billion we cannot take out of the human services system without hurting a lot of people. And right this minute when we're taping the show, we are hearing that the leaders are meeting, but I can tell you that before May 31st, the leaders were not able to come up with a way to solve that. We had an income tax in front of us. We had no way to solve it without an income tax, and we didn't pass the income tax.
I was sorry to see that. Not that I wanted a tax hike, but I understood that it's the responsible thing to do. You've got to have the money to have the programs.
Yeah. You know, I ended up voting for the income tax. Now, my preference would have been, as with the mass transit system, you know, we had to pass a tax to keep that going, because you can't Band-Aid these big systems together. We had to pass a tax, but my formula was to couple it with reform. So it wasn't a blank check to the system. It was reforming the system to make it more efficient and a better regional transit system. That's what I think we needed to do this year. We needed, first of all, to show the public that we were doing our own belt-tightening. Everybody out there is suffering right now. They're hurting. People know that they're struggling to get by. They're doing belt-tightening at their kitchen tables. We need to do that at the state level. We needed to prove that, number one. Number two, we needed to come up with some reform ideas, ways to make government more efficient. And number three, if we did those first two things, then we also needed new revenues. The revenues that, again, there's no easy way out of a $6 billion hole, and the income tax would have filled only $4 billion of it, but it was still a very important part of this. It was a 2-year temporary tax, just to get us to the point where the economy will recover. And that's what I ended up voting for, but it didn't pass. And I don't know when it's going to pass.
And see, now it's a whole different situation, because you need more than, you need 60% now.
That's right.
Which makes it difficult. I'd also like to point out one of the things I liked about the income tax, as opposed to other ways to do it, is the income tax at least is a graduate, even though it's a flat tax, it basically affects income. Sales tax affects the poorest of people in ways that the income tax doesn't. And when I see all these nickel and dime taxes the city's putting on people right now, besides for having to hire people and keep track, and it almost seems like something's being pulled out of my skin every time.
Yeah.
At least income tax is a simpler way to go about things.
I mean, it was very painful to do it, because we do understand that people are out there are hurting. But on the other hand, I think that people also recognize that government serves some of our most vulnerable citizens. Now, this particular income tax, and just to put it in context for all your viewers here, Illinois has the lowest income tax of any state that has an income tax. So there are 7 states, I think, right now that have 0.
Right.
Kind of nice, kind of cool, okay? Maybe now they won't, because they're also feeling the pinch. Of all the other states, the 43 states that have an income tax, we are the lowest rate, 3%. As an example, Iowa, I believe, is 8.9%, something like that. So that's the difference here. So that's why a temporary 2-year tax, just to get us over this hump, was, I think, the way to go. It was painful to do it. Nobody wants to do it. But without it, we have a new fiscal year starting July 1st, and I am just scared to death of what's going to happen to these agencies. Many of them, I think, are going to go under, because they've already been struggling with the fact that we're not paying our bills. They're already overextended with their credit line because their rates are kind of low at the state level. If they're serving low-income people, we're not paying that well, not that generously for it. So they are already very stretched, very much on the edge. And now we're going to slash their budgets as much as 50%. That's going to be a terrible situation.
No, it can't be done. I mean, something's got to happen. And unfortunately, I was so hoping with the lack of Blagojevich that things were finally going to...
right. It didn't work out.
No.
And when you said something, again, I want to explain a little bit what you meant when you said 60%. What that means, and this is very important to understand, before May 31st, the Constitution says that to pass a law, we need 50%, simple majority. So for us at the state level, that means 60 votes. On the income tax, we had only 42 votes. Now, since May 31st, we need 71 votes. That's the 60%. So we have to get from 42 to 71.
That's a big jump.
That's a big jump. I don't know that we're going to get there, and I don't know how we're going to really resolve this, except really to slash these budgets and really reduce human services in Illinois.
Which is going to be a very unfortunate thing. There's so many people dependent on it.
So many people, yeah.
And it is a shame. And people don't realize how much is saved when things are done for home services.
Right.
In so many ways, it's short. It's penny wise and pound foolish.
Right. I mean, that's really true. So, for example, if seniors are not able to stay in their home because they don't get the services, they'll end up going into a nursing home. Nursing home is 3 times as much. So, it doesn't save the state money. It just means that we have to care for people wherever they are, especially when they're older and maybe frail. So it's a very challenging time for us in Springfield. And then we have the big ethics debate.
Okay.
So We had a very unusual session with this because, again, we had to impeach the last governor. That was a big challenge for us to do it right, and I think we did, and I think we made the right decision.
Absolutely.
But at the end of that process, it was so easy to call us all corrupt. So we were sort of tarred with the same brush. And as a result of that, if you all remember, the new governor set up this Ethics Reform Commission, and they came in very strong, very aggressive. And they had a set of kind of demands on us. And I endorsed the whole program, to tell you the truth. I thought everything in there. Now, some of it was, I think more politically controversial than not. Putting term limits on our leaders. That's kind of politically controversial. I didn't see that happening.
Yeah.
But I endorsed the whole agenda. I think they were honest, hardworking citizens who came up with a plan. And I was prepared to go the whole route. I didn't think we'd get there. We didn't. And we did some things as a result of that pressure, though. I thought that was good. So we had the pressure from Patrick Collins and the Ethics Reform Commission. We had a lot of pressure from the Chicago Tribune,
right,
which was pounding on our heads every day.
And still is just about every day.
And still is every day.
Yeah.
And they made us look like really the bad guys. And it's so unfortunate for those of us who selected this line of work out of a real interest in trying to help people. And we came into it with, I think, the best intentions and are trying to do a good public service. This has been a painful process, and I did hold out for stronger and tougher reforms. We didn't get there, but there's no reason to lambaste us for not doing every single thing that this commission report wanted us to do. But to this day, as you point out, it's been tough dealing with that too.
Yeah, no, the ethics thing.
I would say those are the two big agendas of this spring.
And that'd be great. But this could go. Who knows how long this can go on? I guess.
Yeah, well, I think certainly the budget's not going to be resolved. Now, there is a third agenda, come to think of it, and you and I were talking a little bit about it, and that has to do with what we're calling our capital infrastructure bill.
Yeah.
And we passed a big capital program, and we found all kinds of ways to fund that. Even while we weren't funding the budget, we were funding a capital bill.
Yeah, 972 pages, and I actually read all of it.
Yeah. Well, and the most controversial one of those funding sources is a video poker.
Yeah.
And I'm very worried about that.
I agree.
I voted for it, and I'm not happy. It was a package. It was a take-it-or-leave-it approach. I was not for the video poker, but there it was as part of the final package. I'm worried that now in every street corner there's going to be a little mini casino or something.
Just down the block here.
It's too easy to go down the block for a drink, and then all of a sudden you're spending your mortgage money. That should worry us.
Yeah, and I think it's very worrisome, number one. And number two is, it's funny too, because when I talk to people who do go to the casinos now and all that, none of them ever seem to lose. I wonder how people make money. I'm the only person who ever went to the racetrack and lost a nickel. So that tells me they're probably losing a lot more than I even think under the present system. And when you bring a problem to people's neighborhoods, that's serious.
Well, that's what I'm worried about. But again, the reason it was important to fund this is because we haven't had a capital infrastructure program for 10 years. And we figured out a way to have a bond program now, $11 billion worth. What you're talking about, the 900 pages, were $1 billion of that. Okay. The other $10 billion, to be honest about it, is for roads and bridges, construction, transit, making improvements in our transit stations, on the track. These are construction projects. School construction, higher education institution construction, state building construction. We haven't had that in 10 years. We needed it. Yeah. So we were hungry for it. We wanted to do it. And that's why I think the funding package is a little iffy. But we all felt compelled to vote for it, and I think it got a big vote count for that reason. And I think, I'd like people again to focus on the good parts of that bill. There are some projects that individual legislators named that are a little bit iffy, but it's a small part of the total mix. I'm still not happy the way that came together, and then the state budget didn't. They should be linked, and we should be making sure that the human service system is viable and up and running, and not hurt at the same time that we're providing all these other jobs.
Now, of course, you're an expert in many areas, but the CTA in particular is something you've been very much in charge of. I remember watching you on the Channel 11's nightly show one time, begging the governor, just tell us what to do and we'll do it so we can finally get the situation solved.
Exactly. Now, and here's the interesting thing. I am an organizer at heart. So I really understand that what gets us to move as a state legislator, as to get public officials and candidates and politicians to move, is when there's a lot of public pressure. I believe in that. I believe that constituents really matter. When they write to us, when they keep us on our toes, it really works. Now, here's the difference. When we came to the transit crisis 2 years ago, really a year and a half ago, we were 5 days from doomsday, if you remember.
Yeah.
Doomsday was going to occur that Sunday afternoon. We were in Springfield. I was scared to death that we wouldn't get it done. But the people out there who take transit knew how the bus route next Monday morning would take them to work. You know, they made that kind of connection between our work in Springfield and what it meant to them.
Yeah.
On this budget crisis that I'm talking about it, but I don't know that people out there have made that same connection, that if we reduce some services, it's going to have an impact for my family. So the transit debate was a very important and exciting one. It was really the challenge of my career.
Okay.
And we got it done, again, long-term sustainability coupled with reform. That to me was very exciting.
For those who don't know, I am a public transit person very much.
And me too.
Yeah.
I take it all the time.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. I live in Evanston now,
Yeah.
and we have a Metro line and a CTA line right next to us, and we even take buses sometimes. So we do
Nice.
that, yes.
Yeah. The Metro, if I go to Ravinia, that's where I take the Metro.
So can I also talk about my political future?
Absolutely, and that was on the agenda, please, as a
Okay.
matter of fact.
So here we are in June, and I have been looking ahead to the 2010 election.
Right.
I have already announced to my district that I'm not running again for
Okay.
state representative. So in fact, people in my area of a little bit of Rogers Park and Evanston and East Wilmette, Kenilworth, Winnetka should know that I'm not planning to run for state rep again. And people are in fact putting together their campaigns, and I think we're going to have a robust primary. And that primary this year is February 2nd. What I am planning to do is to run for statewide office.
Right, that I've heard.
So I am taking a leap. It's a challenge. It's a big state. I'm already out there introducing myself. I have been for quite a few months now. And when you say to me, what am I running for, I have no idea.
Okay.
It's very strange. You know, we are waiting for dominoes in
Yeah.
Illinois, and the first important domino is Lisa Madigan. We think she's going to be running for governor.
Yeah.
And what I have been saying is that if she runs for governor, my passion is to be attorney general. Now, if that doesn't work, I'm looking at the other possibilities too. Illinois is going to have a very unusual political year because we are going to see primaries for United States Senate, governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, comptroller, and treasurer. So 6 out of 7 statewide races we think are going to be open and fairly active primaries. I plan to be running for one of those.
Very good, and I want to wish you all the luck in the world in it.
Thank you.
And I certainly think you'll distinguish yourself in the next office as much as you have
Thank you so
as a
much.
state representative. I'd be very surprised if I don't wind up endorsing you.
Oh, good. Great. Lovely.
And by the way, your timing is terrific because at this time Mickey's hands are kind of. But in the meantime, if you're setting up, I want to thank Angie.
Thank you.
Okay.
And can I give you my website?
That was my next question. Very good.
www.juliehamos.org. It's JULIEHAMOS.org. I'm working very hard to use my website in a very interactive way. It's a new opportunity to use technology, and I am putting all kinds of information on there on issues, my positions on issues, using a lot of email networking. Sign up for my email networks because we're trying to keep people involved.
It's very good. It's very interactive, and I'm on it. So
Great.
people should definitely check it out. I want to thank you very much, Julie Hamos, juliehamos.org.
Yeah.
And I want to wish you good luck
Thank you.
on your quest for higher office.
Thank you.
Thank you.